Rearcross, Tipperary, Ireland, and its many archaeological sites. So get on your bike now and we'll visit some. Standing stone, 10 foot high, 4,000-year-old wedge grave, still burial ground, 6,000-year-old court cairn, children's graveyard, Killeen-Nivrig, the only 4-boulder burial alignment in Ireland, a church made from pure tin, got in Wales, 1887. The best place to start is outside the church in Rearcross village. If you head uphill for 1 kilometre, you'll come across a cluster of 3 archaeological sites. This standing stone by the roadside in a place called Bonadamini. It may have been a tribal boundary marker. Quite close to the standing stone is Bonadamini wedge grave, known locally as Laba. That's Diarmid and Granya's bed. This tomb was excavated in 1959. These wedge type graves, very popular in Ireland, 465, 13 of which are in the Rearcross Kilcommon area. They date from around 2000 BC, and so are early Bronze Age. These tombs represent the earliest people to inhabit Ireland. They preferred to live on low hills and slopes as opposed to the forests on the lowlands. Also very close to the standing stone is a circular burial ground of small stones, roughly 15 metres in diameter. They're known as a cairn, and it was formed from people continuously adding stones as a homage. Now that flat stone in the middle of this cairn here in Bonadamini, that's the way it's orientated. It's going along that way now at the moment. And there's north and south. It's almost going west. If we go back to the village again, and this time head downhill for about 1 kilometre, we'll get to Shenbally Edmund Court Cairn. This megalithic tomb is 6,000 years old. The archaeological sites around Rearcross were first recorded in 1910 by H.S. Crawford. He had overlooked a clump of rocks in Shenbally Edmund townland, locally known as the Liss. Professor M.J. O'Kelly arrived in Rearcross in July 1958, accompanied by George Owen and 2 female archaeologists from Sweden. Those were Brigitte Sharon and Ingrid Johansson. The 2 women stayed in Newport with Mrs. Rachel Cullen, and the men stayed in Rearcross with local school teachers, Mrs. Murray and her husband Phil. Lodgings were very hard to come by in those days, and the following year the men stayed in Cappamore, County Limerick, with Mrs. Justin McCarthy, another teacher, and her daughter, the late Mrs. Jackson. The Jackson house had become available since Mr. Jackson, also a teacher, was away doing a course. Local workmen were employed to assist in the dig. They were James Hayes, Martin O'Toole, Michael Capeless, Lawrence Ryan and James Meehan, all from Rearcross. When the excavation began, O'Kelly was confronted with another problem. Interfering with the dig was a whitethorn skeoch tree, which was considered to be haunted by the locals. None of the workmen would interfere with the tree. O'Kelly, however, said he would defy the curse and uprooted the tree himself. Until this day, there are people in Rearcross who still wonder if this contributed to Mr. Kelly's rather untimely early death. The summer of 1958 was particularly wet, and many rainy interruptions were wailed away in John Ryan Vora's pub, nowadays the Rising Sun. Mr. Kelly said when he came to Rearcross in 1968, I was surprised at the knowledge the locals had about archaeology. The results of the excavation were published in the North Munster Aquatarian Journal in December 1959, Volume 7. In a field about another kilometre down the road from this burial ground, we come across a children's burial ground called Killeen na Bhric. There are 283 marker stones. These burial grounds for unbaptized children, among others, may have started around 1550, the time of the Counter-Reformation. Back in the village again, and now we go uphill, this time to a stone alignment boulder burial. It's 3,500 years old and is the only 4 boulder burial alignment in Ireland. If you come back to the village again, to the tin church, you can examine the story of how it was got in Wales in 1887. And if you need food, you can get it at this local pub.